My name is Clara Bishop, and I'm a keeper of secrets. They are not my secrets to tell, yet they were entrusted to me, scribbled in the pages of a simple leather-bound diary that sits beside me now, its cover worn soft from my hands. It's been years, but the weight of them has never left me. Most of the boys who passed through my care, I remember their faces, their wounds, their voices. But one I remember for his silence after he was gone, for the empty space he left behind that was louder than any shell blast. This is his story. It's all I have left of him. The heat in Italy in the autumn of 1943 has a weight to it. It's not like the dry heat of the Arizona desert I'd read about, or the muggy summers back home in Pennsylvania. This is a thick, heavy heat, soaked by recent rains and smelling of damp earth, disinfectant, and the coppery tang of blood. Our field hospital is a cluster of tents pitched in a valley not far from the Wilcherno River. The mountains rise around us, beautiful and cruel, their peaks often shrouded in mist. The war has moved north, chasing the Germans, but it has left its debris behind, and we're here to sort through it. They brought him in on a stretcher, one among dozens during a long, relentless afternoon. The orderlies were calling out triage tags, their voices hoarse. Abdominal, GSW left shoulder. Compound fracture. The sounds were a constant symphony of suffering. The low moans, the sharp, indrawn breaths, the frantic, whispered prayers. I was changing an IV drip when I saw him. He was conscious, his eyes wide open, staring at the canvas ceiling of the pre-op tent as if he could see straight through to the sky. He had a nasty shrapnel wound in his leg, not life-threatening, but messy and painful. What struck me was his stillness. While the men around him twisted and cried out, he was perfectly calm. His hands were folded on his chest, and he was just breathing. I went over to him. "Hello, soldier. I'm Nurse Bishop. I'm going to get you cleaned up." His eyes shifted to me. They were a remarkable shade of hazel, green, and gold flecks around the pupils. There was no panic in them, just a deep, profound exhaustion. He couldn't have been more than 20. "Thank you, ma'am," he said, his voice quiet but clear. As I began to cut away the torn, bloodied fabric of his trousers, he spoke again, so softly I almost missed it. "The clouds today, they look like the sheep on my grandfather's farm, just scattered all across the sky." I paused and looked at him. In the middle of this chaos, with the smell of death all around us, he was talking about clouds and sheep. It was so utterly disconnected from our reality that it felt sacred. I finished cleaning the wound as gently as I could. "Where is your grandfather's farm?" I asked. "Vermont," he said, a faint smile touching his lips. "Green mountains, the air there, it smells like pine and cold mornings." "Nothing like this." "It sounds beautiful," I said, and I meant it. For a moment, I could almost smell it too, a phantom scent of cleanliness and peace cutting through the stifling air of the tent. "His name is Elijah," the soldier said, his eyes drifting back to the ceiling. "He taught me how to whittle. I was never any good, made more kindling than figurines." He was silent for a while as I applied a temporary dressing. Just as I was about to move to the next patient, he spoke once more. "My name is Samuel. Samuel Jenkins. It's good to meet you, Samuel," I said. "We'll have you fixed up in no time." He just nodded, that distant look returning to his eyes. I moved on, but the encounter stayed with me. His quiet dignity, the strange, poetic observation about the clouds. It was a small, bright spot in a very dark day. I had no way of knowing then that his words would become a mystery I would carry for the rest of my life. They call us the Angels of the Army. It's a nice name, meant to inspire gratitude and respect back home, but we don't feel like angels. We feel like mechanics working on broken, bleeding machines made of flesh and bone. Our hands are raw from scrubbing with harsh soap, our backs ache from hours of standing over cots, and our hearts, Well, we learned to build walls around our hearts. If you felt the full weight of every loss, every scream of pain, you would shatter into 1,000 pieces. You'd be no good to anyone. I've been in Italy for 3 months. I volunteered after Pearl Harbor, driven by the same patriotic fire as everyone else. I wanted to do my part. I pictured myself as a brave, stoic figure bringing comfort to the wounded. The reality is less glamorous and far more human. It's about holding a basin while a boy vomits from the anesthesia. It's about writing letters home for men who have lost their hands. It is about pretending you do and notice the tears in a tough sergeant's eyes when the pain gets too bad. Our tent city is a world of its own. There's the OR, the pre-op and post-op wards, the mess tent, and our living quarters, which are little more than cots ourselves. The mud is omnipresent, a thick, gluey morass that sucks at your boots with every step. At night, the air raids are a constant threat. The sirens wail, and we scramble to black out the tents, working by the dim, anxious light of a flashlight, our hands moving quickly to reassure the terrified patients. It's all right, we're safe here, we say, praying it's true. I started the diary as a way to talk to my sister, Mary. I write to her every week, but the letters are censored, and I can't truly say what I feel. I can't describe the boy who died calling for his mother, or the way the ground shakes from the artillery, or the hollow look in the eyes of the men who have seen too much. So I bought this little diary in Naples from a street vendor. In it, I tell Mary everything. The bad, but also the good. The small acts of kindness. The jokes the orderlies tell. The incredible resilience of the human spirit. And now, I have started writing about Samuel Jenkins. He was operated on that first night. The surgeon stuck the shrapnel out of his thigh and told him he'd be with us for a few weeks to recover. He was assigned to a cot in my ward. And that's when the stories began. October 5th, 1943. The rain started again last night, a steady, drumming rhythm on the canvas that almost, but not quite, drowned out the distant thunder of the guns. We had a rush of casualties from a skirmish in the hills, mostly shrapnel and gunshot wounds. We worked until our hands trembled and our aprons were stiff with blood. It's days like these that the wall around my heart feels thinnest, like tissue paper against a storm. I found a moment to slip away to the latrine, just to splash cold water on my face and breathe for a single minute without the smell of antiseptic and death. When I came back, one of the new orderlies, a kid named Danny from Chicago, was sitting on an upturned crate, his head in his hands. He'd just helped hold down a soldier during an amputation. He's only 18, younger than some of the patients. I sat down next to him. "Your first one?" I asked softly. He nodded, not looking up. He was screaming for his mom, Nurse Bishop. And then he just stopped. He looked right at me and said, "Tell her I wasn't scared." Then he closed his eyes. Danny's shoulders shook. He didn't make it off the table. I put a hand on his back. "You remember that," I said. "You remember that he wasn't scared at the end. That's what you tell his mother." "That's the truth." He looked at me, his eyes red-rimmed. "How do you do it? How do you keep going?" I didn't have a good answer. You just do, Danny, because they need you to. You focus on the next bandage, the next IV, the next word of comfort. You don't look at the whole mountain, you just take the next step. It's the same advice I have to give myself over and over. Dear Mary, the weight of it all feels especially heavy tonight. We lost 3 boys. One of them asked me to hold his hand while he died. His name was Peter. He was from Georgia. He said he loved the smell of peach blossoms in the spring. I told him I did too. I've never been to Georgia, but in that moment, we were both there, under those peach trees, and the war was a million miles away. It's a strange kind of intimacy to be with someone as they leave this world. It's a privilege and a burden I never expected to carry. October 12th, 1943. Samuel is a quiet patient. He doesn't complain, even when the pain must be excruciating. He reads dog-eared paperbacks westerns mostly and writes letters. But every day, usually in the late afternoon when the light is soft and golden, he seems to drift away, and he'll share a piece of his world with me. Today, I was changing the dressing on his leg. The wound is clean, healing well, but it's ugly and painful. My grandfather's farm has a creek that runs through the back pasture, he said out of nowhere, his voice a low, reflective murmur. In the summer, the water is so cold it makes your teeth ache. My sister, Abigail, and we'd build little dams out of rocks and sticks. We were trying to make a swimming hole, but we never got it deep enough. We'd just sit there in the shallow water, our feet numb, eating wild blueberries we'd picked. He looked at me, a little embarrassed. Sorry, Nurse Bishop. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. Please, call me Clara, I said. And don't be sorry. I like hearing about the creek. It sounds a lot better than this place. He gave a small, genuine smile. It is. One time, Abby found a frog, a tiny little green thing, and she put it in her pocket to bring home. It jumped out during supper right into my mother's mashed potatoes. He chuckled, a soft, warm sound. My mother screamed, and my father tried so hard not to laugh. Abby was mortified. I laughed with him, the image so vivid and normal, it was a balm to my soul. What happened to the frog? I caught it and let it go back in the creek, he said. Abby gave me her slice of apple pie for a week as a thank you. His smile faded slightly. I haven't seen her in over a year. She's 12. She'd be 13 in January. I hope I'm home for that. I finished the dressing, my hands gentle. I hope you are too, Samuel. Later, at my little desk in the nurse's quarters, I opened my diary. Dear Mary, I have a new patient, a boy from Vermont named Samuel. He has the most peaceful presence about him. Today, he told me a story about a frog and his mother's mashed potatoes, and for a few minutes, I wasn't in a field hospital in Italy. I was at a supper table in New England with a family laughing together. It is a gift he gives me, these little escapes. I find myself looking forward to them. October 15th, 1943. The rhythm of the hospital is a strange one. There are bursts of frantic, desperate activity, followed by lulls that are almost as tense. In the lulls, the silence is filled with the things we don't say, the worries we don't voice. I spent some time today with Corporal Evans, a Welsh soldier who got separated from his unit. He has a broken arm and a concussion, but his spirit is unbroken. He has a magnificent singing voice, and today he taught some of the American boys a Welsh folk song. The words were nonsense to them, but the melody was beautiful, a rising, falling thing that felt ancient and sad and hopeful all at once. For a few minutes, the ward was filled with the sound of rough, off-key voices trying to follow his lead, and there was smiling, real, genuine smiling. Samuel watched from his cot, not singing, but with a small, contented smile on his face. When the song ended, he said to me, "Music like that, it feels like it's from before all this. It'll be hereafter too." It was a profound thought. This war is just a moment in time, a terrible, bloody moment, but the music, the stories, the love, those things are eternal. Later, I helped him with his exercises, supporting him as he took his first few shuffling steps since the surgery. His face was pale and beaded with sweat from the effort, but he didn't utter a single word of complaint. He just focused, his jaw set, putting one foot carefully in front of the other. "You're doing wonderfully, Samuel," I encouraged him. "One step at a time," he panted, his eyes fixed on the ground ahead. That's what my grandfather always says when a task seems too big. Don't look at the whole field, just look at the next row you have to plow. It was the same philosophy I'd given Danny, the orderly. It seems some wisdom is universal, whether you replowing a field or walking again, or just trying to get through another day in hell. Dear Mary, Samuel took his first steps today. The determination on his face was something to behold. He reminds me of one of those old oaks back home, quiet, strong, deeply rooted in something I can't see. He said something today that stuck with me. He said the music we heard feels like it's from before the war and will be here after. It gave me a flicker of something I haven't felt in a long time, perspective. This nightmare will end. The world will keep turning. The songs will still be sung. I have to believe that. October 18th, 1943, Samuel's stories are like chapters in a book. He doesn't tell them in order. He just offers them up, little fragments of a life that feels a million miles away. Today, he was talking about his father. He's the town postmaster, Samuel said, whittling on a piece of firewood with a small pocket knife. He's not very good, just as he said. The shavings litter his blanket. He knows everyone's business, but he'd never tell. He says a man's mail is his own private affair. He taught me that a secret is a weight you carry for someone else, and you have to be strong enough to bear it. He looked at his hands, at the clumsy shape emerging from the wood. It might be a dog, or perhaps a horse. He didn't want me to enlist. He said our duty was here, to our family and our town. We had a real bad argument about it. The last thing I said to him was that he was a coward, afraid of the world. Samuel's voice tightened. I wrote him a letter to apologize, but the words never seem right. How do you apologize for something like that? I didn't have an answer for him. What could I say? I just put my hand on his shoulder for a moment. I think he knows, Samuel. I think fathers always know. He nodded, not looking at me, and went back to his whittling, his knuckles white around the knife. Dear Mary, Samuel is carrying a weight of guilt about his father. It seems heavier to him than his shrapnel wound. I see it in the set of his shoulders, in the way his voice goes quiet when he speaks of home. He's trying to carve a little bird for his sister, he says. It looks more like a fat potato with a beak, but the intention is so sweet it makes my heart ache. The kindness in these boys. It survives everything. The mud, the blood, the fear. It's the most stubborn thing in the world. October 22nd, 1943. We had a scare today. A German plane, a Focke-Wulf, strafed the perimeter of the camp. We heard the engine screaming low, then the rapid, staccato sound of its machine guns. It was over in seconds, but in those seconds, pure terror reigned. I threw myself over the patient I was with, a young private with a chest wound, shielding him as best I could. The sound of the bullets tearing into the earth just outside our tent was deafening. When it was over, there was a moment of stunned silence, followed by the shouts of the MPs. No one in the medical tents was hit by some miracle. But the fear lingered in the air, thick and sour. Samuel was sitting bolt upright in his cot, his face as white as the sheets. His hands were gripping the edges of the mattress, his knuckles bloodless. He was staring straight ahead, not seeing the tent, not seeing any of us. He was somewhere else entirely. I went to him quickly. Samuel, it's over. It's all right. We're safe. He didn't respond. He was trembling, a fine, constant shake that seemed to come from deep within him. Samuel, I said, more firmly, putting my hand on his arm. Look at me. You're in the hospital. You're safe. His eyes slowly focused on me. The terror in them was raw and naked. The noise, he whispered, his voice cracking. I can't get away from the noise. I sat with him for a long time, just talking in a low, calm voice, until the trembling finally subsided and the color started to return to his face. I brought him a cup of sweet, lukewarm tea, and he drank it mechanically. It comes out of nowhere, he said finally, his voice drained. The fear, it's like a beast that lives in my stomach, and sometimes it just wakes up and tries to claw its way out. You're not alone in that, Samuel, I told him. Every single man here feels it. Every single one. He looked around the tent at the other patients, some of whom were still visibly shaken. He gave a slow, weary nod. "I know," he said. "It just helps to be reminded sometimes. Dear Mary, we were attacked today. We're all shaken, Samuel." His reaction was the worst I've seen. It wasn't hysterics. It was a silent internal paralysis. It was as if his very soul had retreated to a deep shelter inside himself. He's so strong most of the time, but today I saw the deep cracks that this war has put in him. The fear of the noise, the sudden violence. It's etched into him. I worry about what will happen when he has to go back to the front. How can a spirit that craves quiet so desperately survive in that kind of hell? October 25th, 1943. The rains have come again, turning the paths between tents into slick, treacherous rivers of mud. The air inside is damp and chilly. Morale is low. We lost a boy last night to an infection we couldn't control. The silence after he was gone was heavier than any noise. Samuel was particularly quiet today. He just stared out through the tent flap at the pouring rain. I brought him his lunch, and he barely touched it. "You need to eat, Samuel. Keep your strength up." He turned those hazel eyes on me, and for the first time, I saw a crack in his calm facade. There was fear there. "They're going to send me back, aren't they?" he asked. "As soon as I can walk without a limp, they'll ship me back to the front." I couldn't lie to him. "Probably, yes." He swallowed hard and looked back at the rain. "I'm not a coward, Clara. I'll go. I'll do my job. It's just the noise. I can't stand the noise. The shells, it's like the sky's tearing itself apart. Out here, it's bad, but up there," he trailed off, shaking his head. "In Vermont, the loudest thing is a thunderstorm rolling over the mountains, and even that has a piece to it, you know? It's natural. This is different. It's man-made. And there's no peace in it." He was silent for a long time. Then he said, "I have a girl back home. Her name is Eleanor. She has hair the color of wheat just before the harvest. We're going to get married when this is all over. We're going to buy a little piece of land not far from my grandfather's farm. We're going to have a garden and a couple of dogs. No noise. Just quiet." It was the most common dream in the world, shared by 1,000,000 boys in 1,000 places. But hearing him say it with such desperate, quiet conviction made it feel new and fragile and immensely precious. "That sounds like a wonderful dream, Samuel," I said softly. "It's the only thing that keeps me going sometimes," he whispered. "That quiet. Dear Mary, the fear is always there under the surface. We see it in their eyes. They joke and they play cards and they talk about home, but the fear is a constant companion. Today, Samuel shared his with me. He's afraid of the noise. Isn't that something? Not the death, not the pain, but the unending, terrible noise of war. His dream is so simple, a quiet piece of land, a garden. It seems like the most impossible thing in the world to grant him, and yet it's everything." October 30th, 1943. Something unusual happened today. Samuel handed me a sealed envelope. "This is for Eleanor," he said, his voice low and serious. If something happens to me, would you make sure she gets it? I'd mail it myself, but I don't know. I feel better if you had it." I took the envelope. It was thin, just a single sheet of paper inside, I guessed. My name was not on it, just Eleanor Harris, St. Johnsbury, Vermont, written in a neat, careful hand. "Of course, Samuel," I said, a strange chill going through me. Soldiers did this sometimes. It was a macabre but practical ritual. "But nothing is going to happen to you. You're healing beautifully." He just smiled, that same sad, knowing smile. "Thank you, Clara, for everything." I put the letter in my diary between the pages for safekeeping. It felt like a sacred trust. Later that afternoon, he was in a brighter mood. He told me about the time he and his friends tried to build a raft to sail down the creek, and it sank the moment they put their weight on it. We were soaked. He laughed, and we had to walk all the way home, leaving a trail of water up the porch steps. My mother was furious, but my grandfather just laughed and laughed. He said we had the right spirit, but the wrong lumber. It was a good day, a normal day. He was making progress with his physical therapy, walking with just a slight limp. The talk in the ward was of a big push coming. We all knew what that meant. More boys, more broken bodies. And the ones who were almost healed would be sent back into the grinder. I pushed the thought away. For now, Samuel was safe. For now, he was here, telling me about a sunken raft and a laughing grandfather. Dear Mary, Samuel gave me a letter for his sweetheart today. It feels heavy in my diary, a promise I desperately hope I never have to keep. He was in better spirits afterward, as if a weight was lifted. He told me a funny story about a raft. I cling to these moments, these flashes of light. They are the fuel that keeps me going. The army runs on gasoline, but we nurses, we run on hope. However little we can find, November 2nd, 1943, I had a day off today, if you can call it that. There's no place to go, really. I walked to a small hill overlooking the valley. From there, you can almost pretend it's peaceful. The mountains are beautiful, their slopes covered in olive groves and cypress trees. The air was clean and cool. I sat for an hour, just listening to the wind and the distant, ever-present rumble that I've learned to tune out. I thought about Samuel's dream of quiet. I tried to imagine his Vermont, the green mountains, the cold creek. I thought about my own home, the familiar streets of Harrisburg, the sound of the train whistle in the night. It all feels like a dream from another life. When I returned to the hospital, I checked on Samuel. He was asleep, his diary open on his chest. I didn't mean to pry, but I caught a glimpse of his handwriting. He was sketching a surprisingly good drawing of a bird in flight. Underneath, he had written, "For Abby, so she can fly home." My heart clenched. He was still working on that little wooden bird for his sister. The drawing was his model. The care he was taking, the love in that simple act, it was a testament to who he was. In the midst of all this, he was thinking of making a gift for his little sister. I tucked the diary safely under his pillow and pulled the blanket up over his shoulders. He looked so young in his sleep, all the worry and fear smoothed from his face. Just a boy far from home. Dear Mary, I saw a drawing in Samuel's diary today. He's an artist, I think. Or he could have been. He was drawing a bird for his sister. It was so beautiful and so sad. It's these small things that undo me. The big horrors, the blood and the death, I can build a wall against. But the small, tender things, they find the chinks in my armor. They remind me that these aren't just soldiers. They are artists and brothers and sons and dreamers. And we are asking them to do something that goes against every gentle instinct they possess. November 4th, 1943. He's gone. Samuel is gone. I don't understand it. I can't process it. It happened last night. I wasn't on duty. I was woken early this morning by one of the other nurses, Helen. Her face was pale. "Clara, it's your patient?" The quiet one from Vermont, Jenkins. My heart jumped into my throat. What happened? Did his wound turn septic? "No," she said, her voice confused. "He's just gone, disappeared." I rushed to the ward. His cot was empty, neatly made, as if no one had ever been there. His personal effects, his paperbacks, his whittling knife, the little wooden bird he was carving, were gone from the bedside table. Captain Miller, the ward physician, was there, his face a thundercloud. Did anyone see anything? He barked at the orderlies. Did you hear anything? No one had. The night had been quiet. No air raids, no major influx of patients. The men in the cots near Samuel's were just as bewildered. One man said he thought he saw Samuel get up to use the latrine sometime after midnight, but he never saw him come back. They just assumed he'd taken a while. He hadn't taken his crutch. His boots were gone. but the uniform he'd been issued to wear while convalescing was folded neatly at the foot of his strip cot. It made no sense. He couldn't have just walked out. He still had a pronounced limp. Where would he go? The front lines were miles to the north. The countryside was rugged, occupied by pockets of enemy stragglers and partisans. He had no gear, no weapon, no food. The MPs were called. They searched the immediate area. Nothing. No sign of a struggle, no footprints leading away into the mud. The rain had seen to that. It was as if the earth had opened up and swallowed Samuel Jenkins whole. I stood there, staring at the empty cot, feeling a cold dread seep into me. I thought of the letter in my diary. I thought of his fear of the noise. I thought of his dream of a quiet piece of land. What had happened? Did he desert? The thought was there, ugly and insistent, but it didn't fit the boy I knew. The boy who talked about duty, who was determined to go back despite his fear. Did he wander off, confused from pain or fever? But he was lucid yesterday. He gave me the letter. Or was something more sinister at play? Was he taken? The thought is too terrible to entertain. I went back to my tent and took out my diary. The envelope addressed to Eleanor felt like it was burning a hole through the pages. I haven't opened it. It's not for me. But it's the only piece of him left. Dear Mary, Samuel is gone, vanished in the night. No one knows how or why. I am sick with worry and confusion. He was my friend. I felt like I knew him, his heart, his dreams. And now he's just a mystery. All I have is this letter and the stories he told me. I have to believe he's alive somewhere. I have to. November 10th, 1943. A week has passed. There's been no word, no sign. The official report lists him as missing. The MPs have moved on to other matters. The war does not stop for one missing soldier. The cots fill up with new wounded, new faces, new stories. Life in the hospital moves forward, a relentless churning machine. But for me, time has stopped. I look at his empty cot a dozen times a day. I find myself listening for his voice, expecting to see him sitting there, whittling, ready to tell me a story about his grandfather's farm. I've asked everyone. I've spoken to the orderlies who were on duty that night. I've asked the patients in the surrounding cots over and over again. Nothing. It's a perfect, maddening void. Tonight, I couldn't sleep. I took out my diary and I read back through all the entries about Samuel. The sheep in the clouds, the frog and the mashed potatoes, the argument with his father, the dream of a quiet garden with Eleanor. I read them all and I wept. I wept for the loss of such a gentle soul in this brutal world. I wept out of frustration. I wept because I felt I had failed him somehow. And then I took out the letter. It sat on my desk, a simple white envelope in the flickering lantern light. Eleanor Harris. It felt like the key to everything, and yet I had no right to use it. But what was my duty now? To hold on to it indefinitely, a ghost in my pages? To mail it to a girl in Vermont, raising 1,000 questions I could never answer? Dear Eleanor, Samuel asked me to give you this. Also, he's disappeared, and no one knows why. It would be a kind of cruelty. My hands were trembling as I picked it up. The seal was not strong. With a deep sense of guilt and a desperate need for answers, I carefully slid my finger under the flap and opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The handwriting was the same neat script as on the envelope. It was not a long letter. It was not a love letter, not really. It was a confession, a will, a dream. It read, "My dearest Eleanor, if you are reading this, then the war has finally taken me. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to cause you a moment's pain. I need you to know the truth. I am not a hero. I am afraid almost all of the time. The only thing that quiets the fear is thinking of you and of home. I close my eyes and I can see the light on the green mountains in the autumn. I can feel the cold of the creek on my feet. I can smell my mother's bread baking. I can hear your laughter. I dream of our life together. A small white house with a green roof, a big oak tree in the yard for shade, you in the garden, your hands in the soil, growing things. Me, coming home from a day's work to you. The simple, quiet peace of an ordinary life, that is my heaven. That has always been my heaven. Please don't let them tell you I died bravely. Tell them I died wanting to come home to you. That is the only truth that matters. Tell my father I love him and I'm sorry for my harsh words. Tell my mother not to worry. Tell Abigail to be good. My love for you is the one thing this war cannot touch. It is the quiet place inside me. Keep it for me. Forever yours, Samuel. I put the letter down, the tears coming freely now. This was his secret. Not a dark, shameful secret, but a profound and beautiful one. His courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the presence of something stronger love. Love for his family, for Eleanor, for his home. It was the core of him, and now he was gone. Had the fear finally won? Had the dream of that quiet life become so vivid, so necessary, that he felt he had to walk towards it, even into the dangerous unknown Italian night? Or had some other, more random fate befallen him? I would never know. The not knowing was a new kind of wound, one that would never fully heal. I folded the letter carefully and placed it back in my diary. I knew then what I had to do. I had to tell his story. Not the story of his disappearance, but the story of his life. The stories he had given me. November 15th, 1943. I mailed the letter to Eleanor today. I enclosed a short note of my own. Dear Miss Harris, my name is Clara Bishop. I was Samuel's nurse. He asked me to send this to you should anything happen to him. He spoke of you often and of his dream of a life with you in Vermont. He was one of the kindest, most gentle men I have ever met. He brought a great deal of comfort to those around him, including me. I am so very sorry I didn't mention he was missing. Let the army do that. My job was to deliver his heart, and I had. The big push has started. The tents are overflowing again. The work is endless. There's no more time to dwell on one missing soldier. There are too many present ones who need me. But I haven't forgotten. In the rare quiet moments, I still think of him. I look at the clouds, and I see his sheep. I think of the creek in Vermont, and the frog, and the sunken raft. I think of a quiet piece of land where a garden grows. I don't know if Samuel Jenkins is alive or dead. In a way, it doesn't matter. The boy I knew, the boy who shared his stories with me, that boy lives on. He lives in this diary. He lives in the letter I sent to Vermont. He lives in me. The war will end. One day, I will go home to Pennsylvania. I will try to find my own version of a quiet life. And I know that I will carry Samuel with me. He taught me that courage is not the absence of fear, but the love that persists in spite of it. He taught me that the most powerful weapon against the darkness is not a gun, but a memory of light. A memory of a cold creek, a laughing grandfather, a girl with hair the color of wheat. My name is Clara Bishop. I was a nurse. I cared for the wounded, I comforted the dying, and I kept the secrets of the lost. And I remember a soldier named Samuel who dreamed of a quiet garden, and who, in sharing that dream, gave me a peace that the war could never break. I close my diary now. The lantern is low. Outside, the Italian night is quiet. For once, blessedly quiet. Just the way he would have liked it.